Okay, it's the May 5th, 2024. It's Sunday today. Work off campus as an international student. Who can work off campus? You and the employer must make sure you can work off campus without a work permit before you start working. If you start working off campus but don't meet the requirements, you may have to leave Canada. You can only start working in Canada when your study program has started. You can't work before you start your studies. If you are able to work during your studies, it will say so in the conditions on your study permit. If you are eligible for off-campus work, you don't need a work permit. Eligibility requirements. You can work off-campus without a work permit if you meet all of these requirements. You are a full-time student at a designated learning institution. You are enrolled in either of the following: a post-secondary academic, vocational, or professional training program, or a secondary level vocational training program, Quebec only. Your study program is at least 6 months long and leads to a degree, diploma, or certificate. You started studying. You have a social insurance number, SIN. If you are a part-time student at a DLI, you can work off campus only if you meet all of the requirements above, except the requirement to be a full-time student, and you are only studying part-time instead of full-time because you are in the last semester of your study program and you don't need a full course load to complete your program, and you were a full-time student in your program in Canada up until your last semester. If you are on a authorized leave from your studies, or you are switching schools and you are not studying, you can't work off campus. You can only return to work once you are back to studying. Get a social insurance number to work in Canada. A SIN is a non-digit number that the government of Canada gives you. You need one to work in Canada. To apply for a SIN to work off campus, you must have one of these conditions printed on your study permit. May work 20 hours per week off campus or full-time during regular breaks if meeting criteria outlined in paragraph 186 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations. May accept employment on or off campus if meeting eligibility criteria per paragraph are 1 86 if V or W and must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria. If your study permit doesn't have work conditions on it, you can ask to have these conditions added. If you are eligible to work off campus, there's no fee to add these conditions to your permit. You must request an amendment to your study permit before you can apply to Swiss Canada for a SIN. How many hours you can work off campus? During regular school terms or semesters, you can work up to 20 hours per week. You can work more than one job to make up these hours as long as you continue to meet the conditions of your study permit. Who can work more than 20 hours per week off campus? Under a temporary public policy, you may be eligible to work without a work permit for more than 20 hours per week off campus during regular academic sessions. To be eligible, you must meet the following requirements. If we received your study permit application or extension on or before October 7, 2022, if we received your study permit application or extension between October 8, 2022 and December 7th, 2023, if we received your application for study permit extension after December 7th, 2023, during scheduled breaks in the school year, you can work full-time if you are on a scheduled break such as winter and summer holidays, or fall or spring reading week. You are free to work overtime or work two part-time jobs that add up to a higher than usual number of hours. You must be a full-time student both before and after the break to work full-time. You can't work during a break that comes before you start your very first school semester. How many hours count as full-time work? There is no set number of hours per week that counts as full-time work. However, your employers must follow all provincial laws on overtime pay and time between shifts. If your program doesn't have scheduled breaks, you can work up to 20 hours per week. Working more than 20 hours per week is a violation of your study permit conditions. You can lose your student status for doing this and may not be approved for a study or work permit in the future. You may also have to leave the country. How to calculate your hours? You are responsible for both of the following: keeping track of the hours that you work off campus, and hours are defined as any time you spend earning wage or collecting a commission, even if you are on call during these hours and not actually working. Proving that you are complying with the conditions of your study permit. To do this, you must show that you are actively pursuing your studies, not working more than 20 hours per week, meeting any other conditions listed on your study permit. Self-employed students. If you are a self-employed person, you are also responsible for keeping track of the hours you work off campus and proving that you are complying with the conditions of your study permit. Hours are calculated as any time you spent doing any of the following. Earning wages. Being paid wages for performing a service or selling a product. Collecting a commission for performing a service or selling a product. Who can't work off campus. You can't work off campus without a work permit if any of these situations apply to you. Your study permit says you aren't authorized to work off campus while you study. You are only enrolled in an English or French as a second language ESL/FSL program. You're only taking general interested courses. You're only taking courses required to be accepted into a full-time program. Your situation changes and you no longer meet all of the requirements to work off campus. If any of these situations apply to you and you want to work while studying in Canada, you need to apply for a work permit. If your study situation changes. If you weren't eligible to work off campus, but your study situation has not changed, you may be able to change the conditions of your study permit. You can apply to change the conditions of your permit if you changed your study program to one that may allow you to work off campus, and your study permit says this permit does not permit the holder to engage in off-campus employment in Canada, or we included a condition on your study permit that may no longer apply. Example, you have a study permit to complete prerequisite courses such as an ESL or FSL course. You are then accepted into a full-time study program. This would mean you could apply to have the conditions not being allowed to work off campus removed from your study permit. You must apply to change the conditions of your study permit. There is a fee to make this change. You must change the conditions on your permit before you apply for a SIN. Changing the conditions on your study permit. You need to apply a new study permit from within Canada. When you apply online, your personalized checklist will include the application to change conditions, extend my stay, or remain in Canada as a student. IMM 5709. On that form, check the box to apply for a study permit for the first time or extend my study permit, and fill out the rest of the required fields. Include a letter with your application explaining why you need the condition removed from your study permit. Working after you complete your study program. After you complete your study program, there are two ways you may be able to work full-time. You already applied for a work permit. before your study permit expired, or you are starting a new study program. You need to meet all the requirements listed below to work full-time. If we refuse your work or study permit application, you must stop working and leave Canada. If you already applied for a work permit, you can work full-time if you meet all of these requirements. You were already able to work off campus during your studies. You apply for work permit or post-graduation work permit (PGWP) before your study permit expired. You are waiting for a decision on your work permit application. If you are starting a new study program, you can work full-time if you meet all of these requirements. You were already able to work off campus during your previous studies. You have a valid study work permit, or you applied to extend your study permit before it expired. You received writing confirmation from your current school that you complete your program. You received a letter of acceptance to a new full-time study program at a DLL. You start your new program within 115 calendar days of receiving the confirmation that you complete your previous program. Working outside Canada. You can work remotely for an employer outside Canada as long as you still meet the conditions of your work permit. This type of work doesn't count towards your 20 hours per week off-campus work limit. Okay.